Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Central Oklahoma Transportation and Parking Authority March 1st meeting. There are no items from the chairman. Are there any residents to be heard? If not, we'll move on to item 4, which is the approval of the minutes of the February 2nd, 2024 COPTA board meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 5, which is our consent docket. There are 3 items on it. Are there any items that the trustees would like to pull and discuss individually? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent docket? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Items for individual consideration. Item A is a resolution adopting the Ohio Department of Transportation's Cooperative Purchase Program contracts and authorize the purchase of ADA Accessible Plus vans, light transit vehicles, and mobile minivans, estimated cost of $1.5 million, March 1st, 2024 through February 28th, 2026. Jason?
Yes, happy to provide some additional comments on this item. So again, staff is requesting authorization to adopt this Ohio Department of Transportation contract. Our purchasing policies allow us to do that with the idea, of course, that we make sure that the contract was competitively bid. And then in this particular case, since we are going to be using federal funds to purchase the vehicles, we also need to ensure that it complies with FTA purchasing requirements. Staff has done their due diligence and determined that it does meet that criteria. And so we're asking the trust to go ahead and adopt this contract. And the reason primarily is it gives us another option for purchasing paratransit vans. As the board probably recalls, several months back we had a transportation committee meeting where we discussed and highlighted the difficulties we'd been having just acquiring that equipment, specifically CNG powered ADA vans. So we're optimistic that, by expanding the contracts or the number of vendors that we have, hopefully we can deliver on that commitment to the board to purchase vehicles with alternative fuel propulsion moving forward. So, with that adoption of this contract, we would use it most likely for our next paratransit van purchase. We're not actually obligating or asking for any purchases today, just simply adopting the contract. And then finally, I also wanted to acknowledge that during that transportation committee meeting, it was made clear to staff that the board was still committed to alternative fuels, to include electric vehicles, just as we've began incorporating some electric vehicles on the fixed route side, to also consider that on the paratransit side. And so this contract does not allow for electric vehicles. Staff will issue, or we as staff will issue an RFP to check the marketplace to see if there are electric powered paratransits that would not only meet our needs, but also fulfill Buy America requirements that the FTA essentially mandates for us. So we haven't forgot about that. That RFP will be going out in the coming months.
Okay, is there any discussion or questions for Jason? If not, is there a motion to adopt the resolution? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Item B is professional services agreement with Userve Holding Incorporated for mobile management transportation service providers, estimated at an annual cost of $50,000 be from March 1st, 2024 through February 28th, 2025. Jason?
Yeah, so this item here really just, with approval of this item, this will allow our Mobility Management Services Division to have an additional contracted transportation provider. So as you can see in the memo, staff issued a request for quotes back in September. This is really kind of an area where we as an agency, for those few contracted services that we have, we're kind of always looking for contracted transportation providers. As you know, we've had several contracts with taxi companies in the past. Those have, kind of come and gone. And so really what this contract will allow us to do is enter into an agreement with USERV. They will provide vans and operators for contracted services, specifically like the senior shopping trips that we accomplish through the Mobility Management Services Division, some of the Embark Well trips, non-emergency medical. So I know the board is very familiar with mobility management, and those services that kind of fall under that umbrella to simply allow us another contractor to use. Our estimated cost on this one is $30,000. Again, doesn't obligate us to that. We'll use them as we need them.
It said 50,000.
I'm sorry, 50,000. I should have had these on.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments on this item? If not, is there a motion to approve? Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Item C is a resolution authorizing a change in the cost estimate for the sole source purchase of Xeon parts and services for additional onboard video surveillance equipment, estimated cost increase of $100,000.
Yes, sir. So Seon Company is the vendor that provides all of the cameras on our fixed route bus system. We also have those camera systems on our BRT, and we're transitioning our streetcar to Seon. So we've actually had an established relationship with Seon since 2013. Back in 2013, as some will recall, that was a big year for us in terms of launching AVL and then also a new upgraded camera system. As you can imagine, since 2013, that particular system has aged. That system is comprised of, DVR recorders, cameras, and so forth. That system has aged, so we are replacing more of those components. Not only are we replacing more of those components, but as we would expect, those components are getting more and more expensive. So whereas in 2023, we had requested $250,000 essentially worth of authority from the board for those replacement parts. We're now coming back just really a year later, and primarily because of the reasons I described, asking for an additional $100,000. So that would be an authorization of a total $350,000 annually to maintain our cameras on our buses. And obviously it goes without saying the significance that those camera systems play, particularly with just providing a secure traveling environment. There's many other benefits, training and such, but primarily it is for the security of our customers.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? I think the equipment pays for itself, maybe. It helps us.
I think so.
And how did we ever live without it?
Right.
So, okay, is there a motion to adopt the resolution? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Moving on to item D is a resolution authorizing the administrator to establish an Oklahoma City streetcar and rapid park and ride program to provide complimentary rides for up to 2 customers with a valid parking transaction for the same associated day from the Central Oklahoma Transportation and Parking Authority owned parking garages.
Yes, sir. So this is really just an expansion, if you will, of an existing park and ride program that the board had approved back in 2020, shortly after the launch of the Oklahoma City streetcar. And so we would just simply ask the board to consider expanding the park and ride program to also apply to the rapid system. And so again, just as with the streetcar, where a parking ticket or voucher from a Kotpa garage currently allows individuals up to two individuals trips on the streetcar, we would want to extend that to bus rapid transit.
Okay, is there any comments or questions on this item?
I do have a comment, Mr. Chairman. I have talked to Jason about this, and I would like for staff to also evaluate whether or not we could extend this ridership opportunity, particularly for the streetcar, to our monthly parkers in our parking garages, because I feel like that would really help us boost our ridership on the streetcar, help introduce more people to it, get them accustomed to using it. Right now, you have to pay for parking in the garage to do that, but I think if you showed your monthly card, then maybe we could extend that too. I don't have any concerns or considerations about approving this item today, but maybe in the future we could consider whether or not the board would approve that.
Wonder what sort of cost impact that would have, but
I don't know. I don't know that we even would have a way to estimate what the cost impact would be. Because we're running those streetcars anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't know that monthly parkers are paying to ride the streetcar right now. I don't know that they're not, though.
Yeah.
So.
Good point. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, is there a motion to adopt the resolution? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Item passes. Item E is a contract for architectural services with Beck Design for the renovation at Embark's Administrative Building at 2000 South May Avenue for architectural fees of $445,887. Jason?
Yeah, so with this item here, we are continuing to move forward with the design for the remodel of our 2000 South May facility. I know we've talked about this project several times from the standpoint of we are essentially out of room at the South May facility. In fact, we're working on some interim solutions to that. But we were very optimistic just a couple of years ago of being able to renovate and redesign that entire facility. As you know, as we got through a conceptual design process and estimate of construction costs with Howard and Associates, who again did some conceptual design for us, the project was significantly over budget. I mean, nearly double what we had anticipated, keeping with kind of the trend in some of these construction projects, unfortunately. So what we are recommending the board do today is actually approve a contract with Beck Design, which will be building on the previous work that Howard and Associates did. So we had a concept design from Howard and Associates that we finally kind of landed on. Now we think we've more or less value engineered, at least the concept design part, to be more within budget. And so now that we've got to that point, we really need A&E services to take us to preliminary report, final design, preparing our bid documents, and then that final construction management piece. And so that's what we're asking the board to consider here by awarding a contract to Beck. The estimated cost, as you can see in the memo, is $445,000. We anticipate funding this through our transit reserves. And it's a pretty detailed memo, so I won't go through all of the information, but I think if you need a refresher on the project, there's a pretty good history of when we started working on this back in fall of 2021, really, so.
Okay, are there any questions or comments for Robert?
Can you just remind us of the budget, the overall budget that you were targeting for the renovations?
Yeah, the overall budget is approximately 4.5 million, 4 million. That includes the A&E, so we won't have quite that much for construction. But again, the estimates came in considerably higher than that.
Okay, is there any other discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve the contract? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Moving on to item 7 is ratification of claims and payroll for the period February 6th through February 27th, 2024. Is there a motion to ratify? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Item passes. Item 8 is to receive our financial reports, which is the COPTA schedule of revenue and expenses budget to actual for the month ending January 31st, 2024. Suzanne, good morning.
Good morning. It's good to be back. It's been a few months since I've been standing here. So it's good to be here. Before I give the report out on our financials, I have a special introduction I'd like to make this morning. Behind me over here is Armando Reyes. Hope I said your name correctly, Armando. He is brand new to Embark starting Monday, and he's going to be our Business Development and Public Affairs Manager. And that might not be a familiar title to you. Actually worked with our city HR team to create a brand new job description that is specific to the transit agency and our needs, not trying to kind of stuff it into like a general job description. So this is very exciting for us as an organization to have somebody with Armando's depth of experience in marketing, but not only that, he's been working for the Dallas Area Regional Transit, DART, for about 6 years now, and so he'll be bringing quite a bit of experience to Embark, in particular in the area of business development, and helping us grow our ridership and connect with businesses and creating opportunities for people to check out transit that maybe normally wouldn't do that. So really excited to have him. Again, he starts on Monday, so he's got a lot to start working on. And I can't fail to mention the person behind him, the legend, Michael Scroggins. Michael's been with Embark for 15 years. In fact, it was at Embark when he started. And I can't speak highly enough of Michael, and I don't know that I even have to say a lot more than that because you all know his quality of work. He's led us through several branding projects, and I think the website and our brand speak for themselves how professional and top-notch they are. The team has received many marketing awards, so it's an award-winning team that he's led. And of course, I'm so glad he's still with us. He's our IT manager, though. He wore many hats as we grew. Those hats needed to separate out, so no longer did he oversee marketing and IT. Now he just oversees IT, which is a big enough job in and of itself. So I know he'll be helping Armando with the transition. I'm grateful for that, but I did want to recognize Michael's efforts and thank him for what a great job he's done. He's led a great path for us. So with that, I'll transition over to finances, maybe a little less exciting than that announcement, but exciting nonetheless. So in your packets, the transportation report out is on page 2, as it is every month, by the way. So we're 7 months into our fiscal year, so over halfway through this fiscal year. Our overall revenues, I'll direct your attention to the total revenue line, are $23.4 million, so just right on budget. The very first line under revenues, fare bucks, you'll see we have negative $154,000 there. But we are earning interest revenue that's greater than budget at $147,000 ahead of budget, as well as our advertising line item. We've got $87,000 in excess there. So those two items really do help offset the shortfall in our fare box revenues. Our grant revenue, federal grants line there, is right on target with budget. And I would want to point out to you the line that's about 3 below federal grants. You'll see there's a state government subsidy, and we're 7 months in, and we've been just waiting anxiously to get that money, and I'm happy to report we have now received some payments from ODOT. We've received 2 of the 3 payments totaling $1.3 million, and that will be in our report next month. So not only did we get the million, but we're actually getting a little bit of an increase from our subsidy from the state. So we're grateful for that. And then there will be a final payment with that agreement, another $630,000 that we'll receive later this fiscal year, for a total of $1.9 million. Down on the expenses, you'll see that we are at 25 point.
Suzanne, I do have a question about the advertising revenue. Is that a timing thing, or is that real money?
So back this summer, the board approved an agreement with Hauk Advertising, and we have a MAG. We have that minimum guaranteed amount of $500,000. So it really is a timing issue. The $500,000 minimum applies to Spokies, streetcar, rapid, and bus. So what we've done is we're allocating that out on a percentage across those modes. And so we will probably see, we don't expect to see above the $500,000, but we will be getting the $500,000. So it is a timing issue and just getting it on our books recorded. So yes, I would expect that to be at about $350,000,
Thank you.
which is, of course, well above what we have budgeted there, which is great. So the expenditures are $25.7 million, and that's $653,000 over budget. We have discussed the last few months about really what's causing our overrun on our expenditures is that supply line. You'll see it's negative $943,000. Same thing we've talked about. It really ties back to bus parts. We have quite a large fleet. Staff has been focusing on purchasing just necessities, but at the same time, we're focused on safety, which means we're not deferring maintenance. We're going to keep our buses maintained, but that is what's causing our overrun, is just the nature of the market that we're in right now. We've got prices so dynamic that even weekly, we're seeing increases. And in fact, one of the contracts that you all just approved an increase on was our Seon, and that's an example where there's a 40% increase from what we saw last year in the costs of those parts. So it's just the climate that we're in right now. So I did want to just mention with that overrun, and then you'll see in some other lines we're having our personnel services and our other services and fees, we are over budget there. We do have some offsetting with the payments to the city transportation fund and our fuel. We have a decrease in our fuel than we had budgeted. However, it is a possibility that we'd be asking the trustees to consider a budget amendment later this fiscal year. So I'm just kind of planting that seed to say that may be coming, something that we're going to be asking for you to consider. So we're reviewing that right now. So our overall revenues and expenditures left us with a negative operating income of $2.2 million.
Can I ask a question? Now, the rapid buses are all under warranty, so we're not having parts and.
Correct.
So this is on our main fleet, not including the rapids.
Right. The only thing with the rapid buses would just be any kind of like maintenance, preventative maintenance things. But you're right; they're still under warranty.
Yeah. Okay.
And thankfully, they're doing a great job so far. No issues there. So if we could turn over to our parking report, which is page 4. So our overall revenues in parking are $4 million, which is $260,000 ahead of budget. Under the monthly contracts, you'll see it's negative variance of $23,000, but you'll see below that our events and transient parking and our interest have a pretty high positive variance of $138,000 and $137,000. So our overall revenues are in really good shape. Our expenditures, we've got the parking garage operations. We've got a negative variance of $121,000. That is due largely to our expenses with PCI, our monthly contract with them. And then also we have our additional security in the Arts District and Sheridan Walker garages that are causing the variance in the other services and fees line. So our total operating income was $1.3 million in the positive, so we're in good shape with parking. We could turn over to river cruises, which is page 5. So our revenues are $542,662, so right on budget there. We do have a couple of lines here. I'd point out to you our charters are negative $5,913, as well as the payment from transportation grants at $5,800, but those are offset with our specialty cruises at $7,800 positive variance and our interest at $6,300 variance. Our expenditures, the ferry contract operations, $531,376 has a negative variance of $58,000. And I thought I'd point out to you all what's happened here to create that negative variance. The month of January had 2 payments from HMS, our contractor. So next month, we'll not have an additional expense from them. So it just got booked a little early, which is causing that variance. But next month, it will level out because that expense has already been recorded. So that's what's caused that negative variance. So our negative operating income of $11,624 factors in 2 months of expenses with HMS. And the final report out is on streetcar, which is the next page over, page 7. Our overall revenues of $4 million are $47,000 under projection. So our streetcar fares and our advertising there do show that negative variance. I mentioned to you just a little bit ago that advertising, we've got a minimum guarantee, and so we will have some more revenue in that line item for advertising, but I would not expect it to exceed the minimum guarantee, which would mean it's unlikely we'll be meeting that $250,000 advertising budget that you'll see there. Under the expenses, our overall expenses are $3.6 million, which are $144,000 under budget, so that's a positive thing, but we are seeing savings in 3 of the 4 lines, service and fees, supplies, and payments to the city transportation fund. I do want to just, proceed with being conservative, that though we're under budget in those lines now, it doesn't mean that that trend will continue. You just never know when something's going to break, when you have to buy parts, if there's an infrastructure issue, but right now we're doing okay on those 3 lines. Our streetcar operations line item is on budget, pretty close to on budget there. You'll notice in the footnote, we always are in arrears by 1 month because we make payments for the current month in the next month. And so that footnote 2 explains that we have $511,000 that are not paid. Those will be, that's just our typical process that we're always 1 month in arrears. So those are my comments on streetcar and our overall financials, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any comments or questions about our financials? Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to receive our financial reports? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Moving on to our program reports, a presentation on the Rapid Northwest update. Jesse?
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, trustees. How's everyone doing? We're making record time, so everybody sit back. I've only got 42 slides. We'll get through it in no time. All right, I'm kidding. So, straight to the end. All done. Yeah, perfect. All right, let's try again. All right, so I love technology. So, happy to report that all of the stations are 100% complete. So that's great news. Again, I've mentioned it several times, but we have one more change order amendment to bring to the board for approval. Again, that's the cleanup items. Cleanup items of like our quantities and things like that, right? So I do want to point out that if you are driving along Northwest Expressway in Penn and the inbound stop, which is the stop on the south side of Northwest Expressway, you'll notice that stop is dark, right? So we had guaranteed that there are lights going to be there, but that stop is dark. I noticed this last night as I was going out and taking a video for this presentation, and so dug into that a little bit. So what has happened is the Oak development that's being developed right there, they had access coming in and off of Northwest Expressway. One of our poles was damaged, one of our light poles was damaged, and it started leaning, and so we reached out to OG&E. They came out, took that pole down because it was unsafe, and when they did that, that also lost that connection to the other pole, so we have 0 lights there. Fortunately, we have a lot of ambient light around the area, so the light is still lit. We still feel that it's safe, meets those criteria to still be a safe stop, but we're working with Oak Development and OG&E to get that stop lit back up as soon as possible. So that is construction-wise. Moving on, so we continue to see public interest in the Rapid Northwest, including our local news stories. This one was by KOCO. And then we also had a recent news story by Curbside Chronicle that talked about our Rapid Northwest and the impact that it's having on folks on the northwest side of Oklahoma City. So this is the video that I alluded to earlier. Before I kind of get into the details of this video, I did want to bring up a few points of why I'm showing this video. So since we started revenue service on December 3rd, as of right now, we have received 4 customer concerns. I wanted to go through what those were real quick. So we had one that was pertaining to Wi-Fi on the bus. That's been handled. Another one was a customer was passed up at a stop at 18th and Classen. And so after reviewing video, we realized that the customer was kind of behind the shelter, and the operator didn't see the customer, passed the customer up, and as they were passing by, radioed back to dispatch to let them know that they had been passed up so we could get that handled as soon as possible. The other customer concern was access to Penn Square Mall parking, right? So we've talked about that before. We're working with Rudy Construction to develop a project for that, basically a sidewalk from our sidewalk at the Rapid Northwest stop down to the parking lot so that folks can gain access to that parking lot. And then the fourth one was we've had a customer concern that our buses are running red lights at Northwest Expressway and Penn. And so this video is to show what that looks like and why somebody might think that, and then talk through what we're doing. So this is, I'm on the south side of Northwest Expressway looking west. The bus is traveling east toward Penn. And so what you're going to see is when the bus is essentially dwelled there. I had an opportunity to talk to the operator before we did this video, so you didn't think some strangers out there taking a video. But he was able to dwell there for a second, and as soon as he starts to take off from the platform, he enters into that geofence that the TSP is set up for, which triggers the queue jump or the protective movement through that intersection. So we got a quick little video here. So operator has taken off now, entered into that geofence. And so now he's in the right turn, but also the bus lane, and you'll notice that white signal went from the horizontal to the vertical. We have 100% red lights at that intersection, and we have a green turn arrow to be able to clear out that right turn lane. So now you're going through the intersection. So if you're at that intersection, you don't understand that that transit signal is there, it could potentially look like our operator is running a red light. That is not happening, right? So just wanted to point that out and kind of walk through what that looked like. Any questions about that? I know that could be, okay, all right. All right, so let's talk ridership. So our January of 2024 cumulative monthly total for our Rapid Northwest was nearly 28,000, so 27,824. This is about a 14% decrease over December of 2023. Again, December was when we launched. And then our average daily ridership is 897 for the month of January. That's about a 21% decrease over the previous month, which was a little over 1,000. So I do want to point out a few things. So if you take a look at January 14th, we were at 417 riders for that day. If we think back to January, that was the day that we had that maybe kind of freak little, not hailstorm, but sleet storm. Like, we kind of anticipated some cold weather, but we didn't anticipate a sleet storm. And then on the 20th the 21st and the 22nd, that was the days that we had about 3 degrees. That was our high, and our wind chills were -17. So naturally, folks didn't necessarily want to come out and ride the Rapid on those very, very cold days. But that's why we saw that ridership decrease. We are tracking February ridership. I'm not able to show that today because it ended yesterday, right? But we are looking to be back up near 30,000 for February, and our average daily closer to that 1,000 that we saw in December. This is our average weekday ridership. So taking a look at Monday through Friday, our average weekday ridership is 977 per day. That's, again, a decrease over December, which is okay. And then our average weekend ridership for Rapid Northwest was 678. Again, a slight decrease over December, but we're seeing that February ridership being slightly higher. Now, I thought this would be interesting. So this just is December through January, right? Our 2-month running total, cumulative monthly total, nearly 60,000 riders through December and January. And then if you take a look at December through January, our average daily ridership was 960, so just below 1,000. And then again, that cumulative 2 month total, average weekday ridership a little over 1,000, average weekend right around 807. And that was it. It wasn't quite 42 slides, but we got through it. Be happy to take any questions.
Good report. Is there any questions or comments? That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second presentation is on safety, security, and training report by Eugene.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to safety time.
Yeah.
So FTA comments. So whenever the FTA does proposed rule changes or any directives, general directives, they will solicit comments and feedback from the agencies. So Embark does participate in those, so just going to go over a couple that we did. So they had a proposed general directive for assaults on transit workers. So if this passes, then this will be required for us to do this. So part of it would be conducting a safety risk assessment and identify safety risk mitigations for assaults. This would be assaults in revenue service areas such as the transit center, on platforms, and then a separate category of on vehicles. So we did collaborate with our frontline safety committee, which includes union representation both on the streetcar side and the bus side. So part of our request or suggestions to the FTA was to be able to use 5307 grant funds to perform any risk assessments or mitigations. We also suggested expanding the reporting categories of transit workers, which we'll show you here. So on the left side, this is the current requirements, which we're doing now. So they want to know for operators, and then the other category is other transit workers. So we're suggesting we actually do this on the right side. So we're suggesting that they break it down by operator, maintenance employees, security, and other. There's a lot of the larger agencies, they have security forces, so a lot of their assaults are lumped in and happen on the security people, the police, security guards like that, so it kind of gets lumped into that. We feel it's better if they would they break it out. Then the other one was on training. This is a proposed rulemaking. I'm going to read this here. So it's Public Transportation Safety Certification Training Program. That's the long way to say required training. So currently this is required on the streetcar for key personnel. They want to make the same training requirements on the bus side. So currently, Jason, Jesse, me, Molly are certified on both bus and rail. In a few hours, Carly will be certified on both bus and rail as he's wrapping up his last class this week. And then also Dennis Fry, our maintenance manager, and Jimmy Friend are already certified on the bus side. So our suggestions to the FTA were to have more classes. So it is challenging to try to get into these classes, so it would make it easy for the other agencies to do that as well. And also to increase the required time to get the certificate. I believe currently it's 3 years, so due to scheduling, budgeting issues, it could be a challenge to get those certificates in that required time. All right, so annual ODOT certifications. So every year we have to submit to ODOT. So we submitted our no conflict of interest certification report and letter that goes with that. Our internal audit report and our letter that goes with that states that we complied with all our internal audits. Here's the PTSCTP, which is the training. So all our training requirements for the streetcar side, so we have done that. And also the last one here is our safety plan. So we're certifying that our safety plan meets OSHA's program standard. Speaking of OSHA's program standard, so they have yet to update their program standard. So we're waiting for that to happen. Once they do that, we did play a big part in helping them to, they did, collaborate with us. So we kind of know what the changes are going to be. So once that gets approved, we'll be able to update all of our plans, and then I'll come back and go over that with everyone here. That's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions or comments for Eugene? Thank you, good report.
Thank you. Okay,
Is there a motion to receive our program reports? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Items from the trustee. James? Robert? Meg? Laura? Steve?
Just a couple of words, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
So I wanted to make sure that we mentioned this morning that March 18th is National Transit Professional Day. And so we obviously appreciate our transit professionals every day, but we want to make mention of that, and we're looking forward to bringing something to the city council. Typically we'll do a proclamation and so forth, but that day will occur before our next meeting, so I wanted to make sure the board was aware that was coming up. We have, goes without saying, from what you hear this morning and see on a daily basis, we have an outstanding team throughout, and so we're looking forward to celebrating that day with our staff. The other thing I want to mention to you is that next week begins a series of what we refer to internally as coordinates meetings. And so, we spent some time with the board a year or so ago talking about our employee engagement plan, if you will, strategic plan, the roadmap. And, part of what we try to accomplish through that employee engagement is taking 2 times a year where we're intentional about getting the entire staff workforce together. It takes us about 7 to 8 meetings to do that. But again, it's just an intentional time to get everybody together. Jesse, Suzanne, and I, other staff present and really just try to share with our employees what is going on within the organization. We have some time for some Q&A. And really it's just about that employee engagement piece. So anyway, those are coming up. If any of the trustees are interested in attending those, just give me a call or what have you. We'd love to have you to one of those, but did want to let you know that that is one tangible way we continue to implement that employee engagement plan we talked about. That's all I have.
Jason, you also spent time in Washington last week. You want to tell us about any transit updates that you learned while you were there?
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, so had a quick trip to D.C. last week. Had an opportunity to meet with the FRA, so Federal Railroad Administration. We are normally talking with the FTA when we go to D.C., so this was a little bit new. And also had an opportunity to visit with staff from both Congressman Lucas's office as well as Senator Mullins. And again, it's always just a good opportunity to let the team in D.C., especially the staff that work in those offices, what is going on locally. Because we've got a really powerful, in my mind, transformative story to share when you think about all of the transit, the work that Embark and COTPA does, the work that the RTA is doing, all the transit that's going on within the region. And so we always try to take advantage of that. And we can point to a successful track record as well, right? Like we've improved our bus system. We've built and launched a streetcar. We now have the region's first rapid transit. So we have a lot of also examples to point to really just ensure those that we're talking to that we expect this trend to continue. So we just had a lot of dialogue about that. Ideally, it's always a good opportunity to talk about potential grants that we might be applying for. We always rely on our delegation or ask our delegation to support our grant application. So we were able to talk about some things like the significance of continuing to improve the capital investment grant program, which is really probably the FTA's largest program for funding large projects. And then we also talked to them specifically about a rail crossing elimination grant planning study that we're hoping to apply for. You know, our transit buses, if you will, are delayed frequently by railroad crossings. So you have a transit component of service, you have a safety component. So we'd like to study that a bit and see if we can make some improvements in those areas. So that's it.
Good. Thank you very much for that update. If there is not anything else on the agenda, then we're adjourned very early. It took us 45 minutes. Hey, this might set a trend here. Thank you. We're adjourned. See you next month.